we're neglecting all responsibilities today and we are just gonna read this book all day. Hello bookish people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. In today's video we are going to be reading the top 3 trending books on Goodreads. I am so excited to do this video because the top 3 trending books right now are all books that I am dying to read, so why not just make a video out of it? So if you don't know, if you go to Goodreads and you go to like their discovery section, it has all these like book recommendations. So it'll be like, because you shelved this book, we recommend these. Because you read this book, we recommend these. But they also have their top read books of the week, so their most read books by readers this week, and they also have their top trending books this week, which I don't necessarily know what makes it a trending book. What I assume it to mean is basically that means a lot of people are shelving it as want to read, as well as reviewing it, as well as currently reading it. So I think that just means that the book is just getting a lot of like buzz around it. We have 3 books. We're going to start with the 3rd book and we're going to work our way to number 1. The 3rd most trending book on Goodreads right now is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I'm very excited to read this one. So this one is a vampire story. It's like a vampire and there's like a human in the vampire world and there's a battle and it's also romance, and I'm just excited to read it. Okay, like this book has been all over my BookTok. It's been all over TikTok, BookTube, everywhere, Bookstagram, anywhere I go I've been seeing this book. It is super hyped up right now. I feel like tons of people are reading it. I'm personally very excited to read this one. I just need a good little fantasy vampire story. I love vampire stories. Okay, I am a Twihard for life. I am Twilight trash. I love Twilight. Not that this is ever being compared to Twilight, but like, you know, vampires, Twilight, you know, vampires, this story, so it goes together. So we have this one. I'm very excited to start this one. The 2nd most trending book right now is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, which was my April Book of the Month selection. And let me tell you, look how dumb I am. I cut the cover with this. Yeah, with a scissor. I know, accidents happen. And number 1 most trending book right now is one of my personally most hyped up books, like new releases this year, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry, because I love Emily Henry. I've loved everything she's put out. This one is a second chance romance, which does give me some hesitancy. Not a second chance romance girly, but if anyone's gonna do a trope I don't like, it's gonna be Emily Henry, because I also don't like Friends to Lovers. But Emily Henry made me like Friends to Lovers and People We Meet on Vacation. So you know what? I trust her. I trust her with this trope, and I'm gonna go in it with well, actually I do have high expectations because it's Emily Henry, but like I'm not going to go in it with bad vibes, right? Sometimes when you know a book has the tropes you don't like, you go in with bad vibes. We're not doing that with this book. We're going to go in with high hopes. So those are all the books that are trending on Goodreads right now. I'm going to start reading one as soon as I finish this clip. I think the first one I'm going to start with is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Let's start at number 3 and go to number 1. I'm going to start reading this. I will update you guys once I'm a few chapters in, and I can give you a more clear synopsis than, ooh, vampires and there's a human. Oh, my Kindle just did the thing. I will give you a concise synopsis after a few chapters. I will see you guys in a little. It's the next day. I actually didn't end up reading yesterday, so I'm starting fresh today. I'm going to try to read as much as possible of this book, but all I got to was the trigger warnings, the author's note, the trigger warnings, okay, and I'm already scared. Okay, so now I am on chapter 15. I am 26% into the book. Overall, I am enjoying it, so I can kind of give you more of like a real synopsis to it now that I have read, how many pages? Let's see. It says I have 6 hours left in the book. And now I've read 143 pages. So basically, you're following our main character, and she is a human, and she lost her family, and like there's this like vampire war, and her guardian, who she calls her father, is like the king of the vampires of one specific like vampire clan, and he found her in like the wreckage, and he decided like, okay, she's gonna come back with me and I'm gonna raise her as my daughter. So she is a human living in this vampire world, and even though she is like the king's daughter, she still has to be very careful and be protective, because everybody even within the castle like wants to kill her, because you know they're all vampires. And so there is this a big competition that happens like every so often. I forgot how many years it said, but there's this big competition that happens, I don't know, maybe every century, every couple decades, and basically it's like all these vampires get together, and it's kind of a like fight to the death type of competition. There is 5 trials in 4 months, and that will determine the winner, and the winner gets a like wish from the goddess. So her whole intention is basically she wants to get a wish from the goddess so that she can be strong and powerful like her dad, so she doesn't feel like this weak human in a vampire world constantly having to watch her back. So basically in this book, you're start off, she is in the beginning, you can kind of see her relationship with her dad and kind of what the world is like like, and then it very quickly kind of transitions into the competition. And then we have our other main character who is her love interest, and where I'm right now in the book, they have just formed their alliance together, and I overall am really enjoying it. I mean, to be honest, the first 10% of this book was really hard for me to get into. I don't know why. It took me so long to read that first 10%. Like, I felt like I was never gonna reach the 10% mark. I kept getting distracted, zoning off, going on my phone, just like not really caring. But now that we are 143 pages in, I'm 26% into the book, I told myself I was gonna stop at 25% because I have some chores and things I have to do, laundry, dishes, I have to take care of my bunnies. So like, there's things I have to do. And now that I've made it to the point I said I was gonna stop to take a break to do chores, I don't wanna stop because it's getting so good and I'm really enjoying it at this point. So I would say, like, this book so far, if you have started this book and you're not really feeling it, just like give it time and really get into the story, because I think once you get into the competition and she's with her love interest, although there is nothing like romantic happening at this moment, but like once you get to that point of the story, I think things start picking up and I think you'll be a lot more interested, and I will keep you guys posted as I progress. Okay, everybody, so I just finished The Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I absolutely love this book. I ended up rating it 4 stars, and there is a reason why. My last update was at 25%, and this next update is after I finished the book. And that is because after that update I did, and I kept reading, my eyes were glued to my Kindle. I could not look away. There was never a point after that 25% mark that I felt bored by the book, which is amazing because it is a longer book. And yeah, I just thought it was a really amazing story. So let's just talk about like specifics. Okay. So the things I liked about the book, I love the complexity of the book, and especially the complexity of the relationships between the characters. So I think it's really interesting. For example, we have Rain and his best friend Nish, and she is going into the competition. So he basically follows her to this competition because he doesn't want her to get hurt, and they're best friends. But keep in mind, this is a competition to the death, right? There can only be one victor, and pretty much everyone else is supposed to die. So it's really interesting going into the that relationship, how he cares so much for her. He's going into this with her because he doesn't want her to do this on her own, but at the same time he knows that there can only be one victor. And then also I think that's really interesting too for his relationship with Oriah, because they start to form their relationship obviously, and there's like that romance element to it, and it's a constant battle between okay, I'm developing feelings for you and I really like you, but at the end of the day we still are enemies because only one of us can win and one of us is gonna end up dying. So I kind of love the complexity of that. And on top of that, their relationship in general, I feel like is a slow burn romance, and it's not a very spicy novel at all. I would give it 1 hot chili pepper on the spice scale. And I just love that for that reason, because we can really see their relationship develop, and they're talking about their past and how they feel about the world and their outlook on things. The foundation of the relationship I think was very well built. You understand why they feel the way they feel about each other, and why they really love each other, and then you have the spice after it. Whereas I feel like some novels that are fun, that just is all spice, it's okay, it's all spicy romance, great, it's fun, but where's the foundation of that relationship? And in here we really get to see it. So I think there's a place for spicy books like that where it's just all fun and spice and a little bit of relationship, and then there's place for books like this where we really get to believe in that relationship and see the foundation built, and then understand why they want to be together and why they have such strong feelings towards each other. Also, I really love the relationship between Oriah and her father, Vincent. I thought it was really interesting because although it's in this fantasy setting, I think their relationship can definitely be applied to the real world. If you have maybe a parent who is not the best person, but you still love them because they've always treated you well, you know what I mean? I think, and even outside of a parent context, I think there's a lot of relationships we can have where the person might necessarily not be the best person, or they might have beliefs that aren't good beliefs, but yet they've always treated you with kindness and love. It's kind of hard to reconcile those two things, liking somebody but knowing on some other areas they're not the best person, and I think that could be applied to a real world setting. Of course, here in a fantasy novel, it's wartime, the stakes are really high and it's totally different, but I think overall her trying to reconcile her feelings for her father, loving him but also knowing all the bad stuff he's done and hating that side to him, I think could also be relatable for some people. And yeah, I just overall really enjoyed it. Also too, I thought the trials were super interesting, so I'm interested to see how book 2 is going to go, because one of the things I really love about book 1 is the competition, is the trials. It's very Hunger Games-esque, right? A battle to the death, and and every like scene where there was a new trial, I was just engrossed in the book. I could not look away. It was so, I loved the action-packed scenes, so I'm interested to see how book 2 is gonna go with those action-packed scenes, because there is no really like setup for it. Not that there's no setup, it's obviously like wartime, but there's no like specific set thing, like, okay, we have this trial, we have this trial, we have this trial, and like you're looking forward to each one. It's gonna be kind of like action as we go. So I'm interested to see how that book 2 is gonna go, because I thought the trials were so much fun and that was like such a big part of the book that I was really interested in. My one complaint about the book is I don't know if it was just me personally, like I didn't fully understand the political elements to the book, and I didn't fully understand all the different vampire factions. Like I definitely understood what I understood what was happening, but I wouldn't say I understood it super well. So basically, like I wish we could have gotten more like information about who are these different factions, what do they do. It was very like a show don't tell, which is great and which is fine, and a lot of people like that, but I feel like Michael Scott talking to Oscar, like explain it to me like I'm 5. Like that's what I needed, because I was honestly a little confused during the book, and I don't want to like sound dumb or like dumb myself down, but like I did feel kind of confused. And so when all like the political things were happening in the end and the huge plot twist, for the most part, I understood it, but I just wish I had someone to explain it to me, like very clear cut what was happening. So yeah, that was, I guess, my only complaint, is I felt personally a little bit confused. Honestly, after finishing this book, I'm contemplating changing the video. Like I'm not going to, but in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I should just make this a video where I read the duet. But it's actually reading trending books on Goodreads. And like, although I really want to read the next book, we are gonna read the next book that is trending on Goodreads, the number 2 trending book on Goodreads right now. I have a big, large May TBR, but book 2 of this, what is it called? The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. It's gonna have to fit into my TBR somehow, which I don't know how, because it's over 600 pages. But we're gonna have to fit it in somewhere, because like I cannot end this month without finishing this nice little duology duet. And although it is a duology duet, I was reading the authors, she wrote it somewhere, I think it was on Goodreads, and she was basically saying that although this is a duology, there's only 2 books, and this is going to finish out like Rain and Oria's story. She is going to write more novels in this world. She said in this world there's about 6 books total, and like I guess she said book 3 is going to focus on a different set of characters, I think in the House of Shadows. So that's going to be really exciting as well. So yeah, I'm here for the ride. I'm here for Carissa Broadbent. I'm going to go start her other series, Daughter of No World. So that's going to move up higher on my TBR, because that is one that I've seen all over bookish internet, booktube, booktok, everywhere, bookstagram. People hype that series up. Now that I know I like her work, I'm gonna definitely move that up in my TBR. So really enjoyed it, and yeah, let's go start Romantic Comedy by Carissa Broadbent. Okay, so when I started filming this video, you guys, the top 3 trending books on Goodreads was 1, Happy Place, 2, Romantic Comedy, and number 3, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And now things have changed. So I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, so it's number 3. We're going in chronological order, 3 to the top. It was the best one, and it was great. Then I had to take like a 4 or 5 day break. I ended up going to Miami for the Formula 1 race, and that took up like 4 or 5 days. So now I'm back. I'm back to reading for this video, and Romantic Comedy is nowhere on the trending list. Instead, The Serpent and the Wings of Night moved to the number 2 spot, and in the number 3 spot is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, which is a book that has been on my TBR for a while. So I had 2 options: read a book, Romantic Comedy, which I already owned and need to read, or buy a new book and read that one. So I decided, you know what, let's stay with the trends. You know, this is the one trending right now. If I read Romantic Comedy for this video, it would be a lie. It would be on past data. So this is the number 3 trending book right now. So really not reading in chronological order, but we still are reading Happy Place last, which is number 1 and continues to be number 1 on the most trending books on Goodreads. But this one has moved into the number 3 position. This book has been on my radar for a while, which doesn't make sense because it just came out, but I remember looking at this book in December when I was looking at 2023 new releases I was excited about. I remember looking at this book again when I was doing my May book of predictions, and this is just a romance book I have been so excited for this year. Why? Because just look at the cover. The cover is why. I love this. First of all, I'm obsessed with this cream color. I'm obsessed with the pink color. I love the girl and her overalls, the flowers, the man and his tattoos. It's just so cute. I knew I had to read this book, so I was actually like really happy in the trending position. So now I had an excuse to buy it and read it. This one, you are following our 2 main characters. You have Annie, you have Will. Annie is a florist in the small town of Rome, Kentucky, and Will is a bodyguard there to protect a pop star, and they fall in love. I don't know what happens during it, but they fall in love. I do know that much. So there we go. Practice makes perfect. I think there's fake dating involved in it as well. So I don't know. I'm excited. Let's read it because it's too cute. Now for like the mini like review so far of the first 140 pages. I'm absolutely loving the banter and the chemistry between the characters. Like their banter and the way they talk is like, it kind of gives me a bit of book lovers vibes. It's not quite up to that standard of Emily Henry's banter. She is unmatched, but this is like a very close second. Like I'm enjoying every minute of this and eating it up just as much as I was Emily Henry's books, which like, you know, for me, Emily Henry is the gold star standard. So like for me to even like consider putting this in that realm, like it's a good book so far. And also too, I'm loving the small town vibes, and honestly like the small town vibes are, and like the characters in this small town kind of give me similar vibes to It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker, that small town. I forgot what it's called, but like the fishing village, whatever. This is kind of giving me similar vibes with the side characters, and I'm absolutely loving it. And yeah, I'm very excited to read the first book in the series, One in Rome. It's one that's been on my TBR for a while, and I've kind of been putting it off, and I need to not do that. I just need to read it, because now that I'm reading this one and I'm loving it, I'm gonna love her first one too, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. I mean, romances can always start off strong, but it really depends. Like, what is their like conflict? Is there a third act breakup? Is it gonna be some ridiculousness, or is it gonna be just like nice and sweet and cute? And I'm actually like okay with the conflict. You know, there's a lot that still needs to happen for me to say that I'm actually gonna really love this book. But so far, page 140, immensely enjoying it. Hello everybody, I've filmed this clip probably 100 times by now because I'm just so excited I can't gather my thoughts in a coherent way, so we're just gonna go with it, and what happens happens. First of all, I'm wearing the same shirt. I read this book in one day. It was not my intention. When I started this day, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna read for a little bit and we're just gonna try to get maybe halfway through, and then I gotta go work. I got halfway through and I was like, we're neglecting all responsibilities today and we are just gonna read this book all day because, oh my god, it was so good. I did not want to put it down. I was having a ball, okay? I didn't want to put it down, and I ended up reading the whole book in one day. I did take a break. I went to McDonald's. It's not like I just read it cover to cover in one sitting. But I did read it one day, and I'm happy about that because I can't even tell you the last time I read a whole book in one day. But this was definitely the one to do it with. This was such a light, fun, fluffy, happy. This cover reminds me of Cotton Candy, and that was the book. The book was Cotton Candy. It was sweet, it was fun, it was light, fluffy, airy, and trust me, you need to read this book because it's going to give you all the vibes. This is a great spring book, a great summer book, a great all year round book, okay? Just like a great, if you want to be happy, read this book type of book. So what did I love about this book? Number one, small town. I love the small town of Rome, Kentucky in this book, and I think what makes a small town is obviously the people in the town, the side characters of the story. I absolutely loved all the side characters. I thought they were so sweet, and what I love about small town side characters in these romance novels, and specifically this one, is there's always that kind of like found family element to these people as well. Like, right, there's all these strangers living in this town, but they're all really close with each other and they look out for each other, and they're all like very protective over Annie, and I just think it's so sweet, and like I want to live in a town like that. Honestly, the small town in this book kind of reminds me of the small town from It Happened One Summer. Like those side characters in that book kind of remind me of the side characters in this book as well. The banter in this book reminds me a lot of Emily Henry. Like, I loved the banter in this book. It was so good. Annie herself as a female main lead, absolutely loved her. I loved every chapter from her POV, as well as Will. I loved every chapter from his POV. I loved every chapter, okay? I loved both of their POVs. I never got annoyed with them. Sometimes in romances, you can kind of get annoyed with the characters. I never got annoyed with the characters in here. Like, I was just along for the story. I didn't disagree with any of their decisions. And Annie herself, I love the struggle we kind of see her go throughout the book, and how we kind of see her gain confidence in herself, because kind of like the thing that she's struggling with throughout the book, and the thing that she's kind of working on herself and growing as a person, is she grew up and everyone in this small town, and she's been kind of stuck with the label of when she was a little kid, like she's this goody two shoes, and as an adult she kind of wants to be seen as adult and break out of that like goody two shoes label. And it's kind of hard for people, like whenever someone in her family curses, they're like, are you gonna write it down in the curse journal? So they make her like have a curse journal where she writes it down, and whoever gets to 20 curses has to donate $20 to charity. And I just thought that was like really an interesting like I thought it was really interesting growth that we've seen in a character, because I feel like we don't often see like, oh, the goody two shoes girl like breaking out of that and becoming like an adult, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's just like an interesting, unique struggle that I haven't personally read about in any other romance novels. So like I liked seeing that just for the like differentness of the storyline. I'm such a good reviewer, the differentness of the storyline. So yeah, I really liked that. I also really enjoyed Will as well, and I just love like the bad boy and the good girl, but like, is he really a bad boy? He's like the sweetest man to ever walk this earth. Like how is he a bad boy? I don't understand, but like I'm here for it. Like just because he has tattoos, it makes him a bad boy, but like I'm here for it because I loved Will. I thought he was an amazing male love interest. It was just so cute. Honestly, what I loved about this book too, it's like, oh, like he's like the bad boy, he never wants to settle down, and then when it comes to Annie, it's like, I kiss the ground you walk on, I absolutely love you. And I thought that was so cute. I guess the only like fault I would find in this book is he is a bodyguard. It's not necessarily a bodyguard romance because he's not her bodyguard, but he is a bodyguard. So like, why didn't we have some huge protection scene where he's trying to fight to the death over her? Like, I get it, it's not that type of book, but like, where is it? You know what I mean? Anytime I see like he's a bodyguard, like I need some like huge protective boyfriend scene, like you know, like that's what I wanted. I didn't get that, which is why it's a 4.5 star out of 5 star. No, that's not why. I don't know. I did rate it a 4.5 star. I rounded up to a 5 star on Goodreads, but it is a 4.5 star. Maybe I was missing that and it could have been a 5 star. But yeah, overall really liked that. Also too, I loved Annie's family in this book. Actually, I loved all the characters in this book, but I really loved her family. Annie is a sibling of 4. So she has her brother Noah, who is the first book, When in Rome, and then she has 2 sisters. So we know she's getting 2 more books in this world, in this universe with these characters, and I am so here for it. I'm gonna go read When in Rome sometime soon. I can't do it now because the next book for this video is gonna be Happy Place by Emily Henry. But yeah, great banter, great characters, great chemistry. Honestly, it's kind of like a friends to lovers romance, I would say, in a way, in a sense, in a way. So like the reason I'm like, I don't know if I should call it a full-fledged friends to lovers romance. I'm not too well versed in that specific trope because I prefer like enemies to lovers or like dislike to like. I feel like dislike to like is more accurate for romance, but whatever, we'll go with enemies to lovers. That is my preferred trope. So friends to lovers is actually my not trope. I do not like that. But I feel like this is kind of that. I don't like childhood friends to lovers where you guys have been friends for years, or even not childhood friends, but friends, people that have been friends for years and then suddenly they're like together. But this one, I feel like it's kind of friends to lovers in a sense because, you know, they start off, they're not like together, but they're like, they don't hate each other. They are friends in a sense, right? And he's helping her practice date. And then you see their friendship form, which develops into feelings, which then develops into a relationship. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's kind of friends to lovers in that sense, but it's not like long-term friends to lovers. It's more like we just became friends and then we're going to be lovers. But I loved it. I ate up every moment of it. Also, well, I guess we'll talk about the spice scale of this book. The spice scale of this book, it was definitely fade to black. So it was really just with fade to black or behind closed doors, I don't really know. It was not very graphic at all. If we're putting it on the hot chili pepper scale, it is literally like a quarter of a hot chili pepper. So it wasn't even 1 full chili pepper, it was a quarter of a hot chili pepper. So there's that, which honestly, like, I don't hate that because I can actually recommend this book to my mom. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't recommended Twisted Love to my mom, but like this one I could recommend. Yeah, so overall, really enjoyed it. Thought it was super cute, and I'm gonna go read Happy Place, but not right now because I should probably do things with the remainder of my day. Hello friends, today is the day we are finally reading the #1 trending book on Goodreads, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry, and this has stayed consistent in the #1 spot for trending on Goodreads through the course of this video. The books have been kind of fluctuating what is #1, #2, #3, whatever, but this has been a consistent #1. The Serpent and the Wings of Night has also been consistent, although it's been fluctuating between spot 2 and 3, and that other book in there is the one that keeps changing. When I first started filming this video is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. Then by the time I actually got around to reading the second book, it actually turned out to be Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. And now that I got around to reading Happy Place, the second most trending book right now is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. But you know what? We already read Practice Makes Perfect. We're just focusing on this one so I can read it. I can upload the video. But yeah, so I've been reading Happy Place by Emily Henry. I almost said Book Lovers. I actually started this last night. I ended chapter 11. which I've been listening to the audiobook, so I don't know exactly what page number that is, but I have been listening to the audiobook because Julia Whelan is the narrator. She's one of my favorite audiobook narrators, so if there's ever a book that I want to read and Julia Whelan is the narrator of the audiobook, I will always choose the audiobook because I feel like she just like provides so much more to the story. Like, it's a great, amazing story, and I think Emily Henry's writing in this is amazing. It's unparalleled, unmatched. Like, the way she describes things is so amazing, but then when you pair it with Julia Whelan's voice and like the emotion that she has like delivering her, like the writing in here, it's another experience. Okay, I highly recommend the audiobook. But I do own the physical copy because I actually pre-ordered it, and I got a signed one, which was super cool because I love Emily Henry, right? Like, I loved all her books that I read by her so far. I'm currently working on her backlist too. But anyway, that's like so besides the point. When I say backlist, I mean like her YA stuff. I read A Million Junes last year, but I have my Libby shelf right now, When the Sky Fell in Splendor by her. So like maybe I'll read that in May, maybe not. Why is the sun going in and out? And just like, I'm sorry about the lighting. Anyway, The Happy Place by Emily Henry. First of all, super cool that it's a hardcover. Usually she releases her stuff in paperback, so I think it just shows like how popular she is and how much people like love her work so much that it's actually released in a hardcover. Because I feel like usually they release things, like especially romances, they release them out in paperback, but she got a hardcover because people are willing to pay a hardcover for a new release of Emily Henry. Now let's talk about the plot to the book. So in this book, you're following Harriet and Wynne, and they were in a relationship for about 8 years, and then they got engaged, and through the course of their relationship, they ended up breaking up, and they've been broken up for the past 5 months. But they have a friend vacation every year, and Harriet was planning to go on herself, and she was gonna tell her friends on the trip that her and Wynne actually broke up. But when she gets on the trip and she shows up to the house, Wynne is actually at the house. So she's like, wait, what's happening? Like, we discussed this, like, you weren't supposed to be here, I was supposed to be here, and not you. And then and he's like, I had no choice. And then the friends break the news to him that 2 of the friends in their friend group are actually getting married, and they're getting married at the end of the week. So Harriet and Wynne do not want to ruin their friends' wedding weekend, so they're like, okay, all right, let's just pretend to be together for this week so we don't ruin that, and we'll tell them after the wedding that we're actually broken up. So there is fake dating involved in it. It is second chance romance, and honestly, I was very skeptical going into it. I love fake dating, but second chance romance just isn't my thing. And I'm never really excited about those plots. And I think the reason why, and I'm kind of getting it while I'm reading this, is because they're like heavy and emotional, right? Because you have these people who have been together and they loved being together, and then there's something that happens that caused them to break up. So I feel like second chance romance is reflecting back on the relationship and the sadness of their breakup, and it's just like so emotional. I don't necessarily want emotional right now. Like, if you're looking for an emotional romance, yes, read this book. If you want like a heartbreaking story about people being sad that they can't be together, then yes, read this book. But if you're looking for easy breezy, light, and fun, read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. So yeah, I'm overall enjoying the book. Love Emily Henry's writing. I think it's amazing. I can't say anything bad about her writing. And I think the story itself is also really great so far as well. I just am saying I just don't think I was necessarily in the place for emotional romance. And also, like, I don't know. I mean, I've been in a relationship for the past 6 years, so I don't really like reading about long-term relationships that end. Like, I don't know. It just makes me sad. I rather read about happy relationships. So yeah. I don't know, but overall, I'm not saying I dislike it at all. Like, there's nothing I hate about it, but it's just not like book lovers and beach read to me. I feel like there's 2 Emily Henry camps, okay? You are the book lovers at beach read camp, or you're the happy place and people you meet on vacation camp. I am personally the book lovers beach read camp, but you know, we still have a lot left in this book, so we'll see if I change my mind on that. But yeah, overall, I'm not disliking it in any way. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea of a plot. Hello, so I have been just working, and while I've been working, I've been listening to the audiobook for Happy Place, and I had so much to do for work today. I thrifted so many clothes yesterday, so I was hanging, steaming, photographing, measuring, editing photos, getting the photos loaded on my computer, and all that time, I was able to finish Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was also doing inventory. I was able to finish Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I absolutely love this book. I ended up rating it 4 stars. This is kind of like my raw thoughts on the book. I really haven't had time to digest it. I really just was like, okay, I finished, take a break, let's go film a clip. Let's talk about the things I did like, the things I didn't like. First of all, the things I liked about this, Emily Henry's writing style, obviously. Even if you don't necessarily love the plot and everything that's going on in this story, she still has really amazing lines, and I think a lot of relatable quotes in here. So like one I saved right here, this one I absolutely love. This is about when Harriet goes to the pottery class, and she's basically talking about why she doesn't really open up to people about pottery, like why she likes to do it. And this is what she says: afraid people will take me too seriously, then be disappointed when they find out how mediocre I am at it. I'm somehow nearly as afraid that they wouldn't take it seriously, that they brush it off as a mild, well, everyone needs a hobby, when it feels like so much more. Not a career, I'm not good at it. Something else, the place I go when I feel trapped inside myself, when I'm terrified that all my happiest moments belong to the past, when my body is humming with too much of something or aching from too little, and life stretches out ahead of me like a threat. And I think that perfectly encapsulates how I feel about reading and books, and also this book channel as well. Like, I don't really tell a lot of people about it, afraid they would take me too seriously and I'd disappoint them, afraid that they wouldn't take it seriously enough when this feels like so much more. And then when she's talking about like the place you go when you're afraid your happiest moments belong to the past, when your body is humming with too much or too little of something, when life it gets to be too much. That's what reading feels like. That's why I go to books. It's like, if I want to escape the real world, that's why I love going into fictional stories. So I think like stuff like that particular like quote line section of the book just really hit me. I don't know, because I just found it so relatable and impactful to me. I was like, wow, Emily Henry, get out of my head, because you just put everything I was feeling down on paper. So yeah, that part, again, really enjoyed that. I enjoy the friend group a lot. I love a strong friend group, although like that's also kind of a dislike for me as well. And I guess in terms of like the believability of the friend group, like in one aspect I love the friend group and I love how close they are, but in the other aspect of that, I just don't find it realistic that she would not have told her friends immediately about the breakup with her boyfriend. Even though I'm done with the book, we went through all the characters' inner monologues, their conversations, their thoughts, and their feelings, and like she explains why she didn't tell people about their breakup. But even to me, like I just don't understand it. I mean, I'm such an open book person, right? And also too, this can go towards like Harriet and Wynn's, the conflict that led to their original breakup. I am such an open book person. I don't really understand miscommunication in books and stuff, especially like the Harriet and Wynn thing. They've been together for 8 years and they break up over a 4-minute phone call, and there's just like no follow-up to that, and they don't really talk after that. And to me, it's just so unrealistic. Like if there's anything bothering me, I will tell my partner. He will know immediately. If anything in my life goes wrong, my best friend knows in probably 0.01 seconds, okay? Like, I am such an open book, and I tell people, like, especially those close with me, like my parents, my friends, my boyfriend, like I tell them everything, you know? So I just don't necessarily understand the miscommunication trope in here. And also too, I thought the ending of the book, I mean, I felt like we could have had more payoff for what their life was like at the end, because I feel like this whole book is like really kind of sad in a sense. It's really emotional. It's sad because you're watching these two people who really love and care for each other, and they have been together for 8 years, and they kind of still have feelings for each other, but they can't admit it to each other, or they do admit it to each other and they can't be together. And I also feel like that's a little unrealistic. It's like, okay, like you can't be with somebody that you've been with for the past 8 years. Like, you know how it goes. You can make it work. So I felt like that part was a little frustrating to me as well. But like overall, I would say I really enjoyed the book. Like, there's never a dull moment where I was checking my Audible app like, hey, when is this gonna be over? Like none of those moments at all. I just ate up every second of it. Like when it was over, I was like, wait, that's the end? It's over? And not in the way where I didn't feel like the story was complete, but in a way where like I was just enjoying my experience listening to it. I wasn't even paying attention that we were near the end of the book. So it was not boring by any means. And yeah, I guess my one gripe with it would be like the unrealisticness of the communication between everybody, because that part just didn't really make so much sense to me. But everything else about the book I really enjoyed, and I can't wait for Emily Henry's next book. I know we just read this book, but I'm always looking ahead. Okay, so yeah, I overall really enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend it to you, but I would definitely go into it knowing it's more of an emotional story and not like easy breezy, light and fun, which I feel like Book Lovers was more easy breezy, light and fun. And I feel like People We Meet on Vacation was also easy breezy, light and fun. And then I feel like Beach Read, yeah, like with the whole cult thing, had a bit of a more serious tone to it. And then obviously like January, dealing with the grief of like losing her dad, had a more serious tone to it. So something I don't like more emotional serious books, because also Part of Your World by Javi Jimenez is also more of like an emotional romance. I do overall like them, but I feel like you have to be in the mindset for them, and I wasn't necessarily like in the mindset. I just came off of reading Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, so I wasn't necessarily in the mindset for, I don't know, as emotional. I mean, it wasn't like, I'm not saying it's like, oh my god, it's sad and depressing and you're gonna cry. No, it is still light, easy breezy and fun. Like there is moments of that where like you see the friend group and it is fun, but I'm just saying like you're witnessing these two people grieve an 8-year relationship while still being stuck together and trying to fight off feelings that they've had for the past 8 years together. And like I just like can't even imagine. I think also too, being in a long-term relationship is just like, I you know, and you're reading about people who were in a long-term relationship, that I just like can't picture feeling this way. I don't know, it makes me sad. I don't know. 4 stars. It's a 4-star book, and that's the end of the vlog. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun reading the top 3 trending books on Goodreads. I thought this video was going to take me a lot shorter time to film than it actually did, but you know what? The fact that I could read 3 books for a video, I am counting as accomplishment, coming off of my 6-month, I was gonna say my 2-month reading slump where I read a total of 6 books in 3 months. April kind of turned it around. May, we're on a really amazing track as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed reading this book, and I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.